The next topic in the unit number 1 switching voltage regulators is SEPIC regulator. The full form of SEPIC is single-ended primary inductance converter. Similar to the Cock regulator, it is also known as the fourth order DC to DC converter. It also falls under the non-isolated DC to DC converter category because the basic diagram of this SEPIC regulator does not provide facility of isolation between input and output. Similar to the Cock regulator, it converts one level of DC voltage into the another level of DC voltage. So this is the main circuit diagram of SEPIC regulator. If we compare the construction of SEPIC with the Cock regulator, then the only difference lies is over here. When we interchange the location of inductor L2 and the diode, then from the Cock regulator we can have the SEPIC regulator construction. Similar to the Cock regulator, it has input inductor L1, second inductor L2, coupling capacitor CS, filter component capacitor CO, diode for the freewheeling action D. Input supply to the circuit is DC and voltage across the load is also in the form of DC. The work done by the SEPIC regulator is it can produce output voltage greater than the input, less than the input, as well as same as the input. So the output of SEPIC depends on the duty cycle of this controlled switch. And usually for DC to DC conversion we prefer MOSFET because of its high frequency feature. Let us go through the mode 1 and mode 2 equivalent circuit diagram. So this one is the mode 1 equivalent circuit diagram where the switch is in the on state condition, and in the mode 2 where the switch is in the off state condition. So prior to explain the working of this SEPIC regulator, we are going to assume that the capacitor is initially charged with the left side terminal positive and the right side terminal negative, and that is due to the previous cycle operation. So let us understand the mode 1 operation. So at the instant t is equal to 0, when the switch is made on, at that time mode 1 operation begins. When the switch is turned on, the inductor L1 gets connected to the supply voltage and inductor L2 gets connected to this coupling capacitor CS. So during the first interval, this inductor L1 starts storing the energy from the supply. So at the input side, the direction of the current is like it starts from the positive terminal of the supply, it passes through the inductor L1, it passes through the switch, and this is how the closed loop path is formed at the input side. The second current starts from this terminal of the capacitor, it passes through the switch, it passes through the inductor L2, and thus it charges the inductor L2 with the polarity shown. The bottom terminal is positive and the upper terminal is negative. During the first interval, the diode remains off because this negative polarity appears at the anode of the diode. So diode is in the reverse bias condition. During the mode 1 operation, the energy to the load is provided by this filter component capacitor CO. So during the first interval, the switch has to carry two currents. The first is this IL1 current and the second current is this ICS current. At the instant dt, when the switch is turned off, the mode 2 operation begins. So by the end of mode 1, the capacitor has released its energy into the inductor L2, and inductor L1 has stored the energy from the supply. So when the mode 2 begins, at that time the polarity across inductor L1 and inductor L2 get changed, which means for the inductor L1 this terminal becomes positive and this terminal becomes negative, and for inductor L2 the upper terminal becomes positive and the lower terminal becomes negative. So during the second interval, the inductor L1 releases its energy into the coupling capacitor Cs. So the current starts from the inductor L1, it passes through coupling capacitor Cs, it passes through diode D, it passes through the load, it goes to the supply and back to the inductor L1. So this is the path, this is how the path to the current L1 is provided. Simultaneously, inductor L2 starts releasing its energy into the load via this freewheeling diode D. So current starts from this positive terminal of L2, it passes through the diode, it passes through the load and goes back to the inductor. So during second interval, the task of the inductor L1 and L2 is to deliver the energy in the coupling capacitor Cs and load respectively. In the mode 1, the task of inductor L1 and L2 is to store the energy from the supply and coupling capacitor Cs respectively. Let us analyze the behavior of parameters with respect to time using this waveform. So as usual, the first one is the timing diagram, which shows that how much amount of the time the switch is kept on and for how much amount of the time the switch is kept off. So the first parameter is VD, voltage across diode when the switch is in the on state condition. So let us refer mode 1. In mode 1 the switch is in the on state condition, at that time diode is in the off state. So this positive terminal for the diode is connected to the positive terminal of output voltage. So the voltage across diode during the first interval when the switch is on is equal to V output. As in the mode 1, inductor L1 stores the energy coming from the supply, so the current through the inductor gradually increases from minimum value towards the maximum value, and this IL1 has the slope of V input divided by L. Because this switch is acting as a short circuit element, so inductor L1 is connected to the supply, so voltage drop takes place across inductor L1 during the first interval is same as the supply voltage. So VL1 during the on time is equal to input voltage. Current through the switch, it is the addition of these two current. The first one is IL1 and the second one is the capacitor current. Right. As you can see that current to the inductor gradually rises from the minimum value towards the maximum value. So the current through the switch also behaves like the inductor current. It increases from minimum value towards the maximum value till the switch is in the on state condition. During the first interval, the diode is in the reverse bias condition, so there is no current flow through the diode, so ID is equal to 0. And in the capacitor Cs, the reference direction of the current is this one, from left to right. But during the first interval, the current through the capacitor is from right to left. Right? And the similar current flows through the inductor L2. So current through the inductor L2 also rises from minimum value towards the maximum value, because It is storing the energy coming from the capacitor Cs. So the behavior of the current through the capacitor Cs is same as the current through the inductor L2, but the direction of the current is the reverse when the switch is in the on state condition. So in the second interval, diode comes into the forward bias condition. Because of that, the voltage drop takes place across the diode ideally is equal to 0. And in the second interval, the task of inductor L1 is to release its energy into the capacitor Cs. So the current through inductor L1, which is IL1, gradually decreases from the maximum value towards the minimum value. During the second interval, when we apply the KVL in the outer loop to find out the voltage drop takes place across L1, then we can get voltage across inductor L1 VL1 is equal to minus V output. During the second interval, the switch is in the off state condition, so there is no current flow through the switch. But during the second interval, the current through the diode is, which is coming from here, IL1, and the second current is the IL2. And both currents gradually decreases from the maximum value towards the minimum value. So the behavior of the current through diode is same as the IL1 and IL2. In the second interval, the current through the capacitor Cs is exactly same as the IL1, because in the second interval the switch is open, capacitor Cs is directly connected to the inductor. These two elements are connected in series fashion, so the whatever current flows through L1, the same current passes through capacitor Cs. So here you can see that behavior of capacitor current is same as the inductor current during the second interval. Okay, if you properly observe the circuit diagram of SEPIC regulator, then the front end portion of the SEPIC regulator looks like the boost converter, and the back end portion of the SEPIC regulator looks like the buck boost regulator. So you can say that SEPIC regulator is nothing but the boost regulator followed by the buck boost regulator. The task of this coupling capacitor is to transfer the energy from the front end portion to the back end portion. And the duty ratio of the switch decides the magnitude of the output voltage, which means the voltage appear across the output terminal. When we derive the output voltage equation for SEPIC regulator by following the procedure which was discussed in earlier video lectures, then you can find out that output voltage of the SEPIC regulator is same as Kirk regulator, except the polarity of output voltage is same as the input voltage, which means the SEPIC regulator is a non-inverted regulator. Output has the same polarity as the input. Let us go through the advantages of SEPIC regulator. As I said, output has the same polarity as input. Most of the application demands this feature. Input transients do not affect the output. The reason, the capacitor is present between the front end and the back end portion, and we know that the capacitor does not allow sudden change in voltage. Short circuit proof due to the presence of coupling capacitor in between. Next advantage of the SEPIC regulator is output can be higher than the input, it can be lesser than the input, or it can be equal to the input, and that depends on the magnitude of duty ratio, which means that if the duty ratio is between 0 and 0.5, then the output voltage of SEPIC regulator is less than the input voltage. If the magnitude of duty ratio is exactly 0.5, then output voltage is same as the input DC voltage. And for the magnitude of duty ratio greater than 0.5, the output DC voltage of the SEPIC regulator becomes greater than the input DC voltage. Disadvantages of the SEPIC regulator: same as the CUC regulator, we need one more inductor and one more capacitor to construct the SEPIC regulator. So additional inductor and capacitor are required. And similar to the CUC regulator, switch and diode have to carry both input as well as output currents, which means that during mode 1, switch has to carry two currents. The first current is IL1 and the second current is ICS. And in the second interval, the diode has to carry the current IL1 and current IL2. So both of these semiconductor devices have to carry two currents. So as far as the current rating is concerned, then the current rating of switch and the diode should be higher. Since the SEPIC converter transfers all its energy via the series capacitor, which means the coupling capacitor, a capacitor with high capacitance and current handling capability is required, which is the major drawback of this topology. Higher magnitude of capacitance and higher current capacitance is required. The fourth order nature of the converter. The fourth order converter means this converter has four energy storage elements, two inductors and two capacitors. So when we derive the transfer function for this SEPIC regulator, then we get fourth order quadratic equation. Because of that, this SEPIC regulator is also known as the fourth order DC to DC converter. And this nature of the converter makes the SEPIC regulator difficult to control and making it only suitable for very slow varying applications.